Howdy y'all, and welcome to the channel. If you're new around here, this is Hyphenation, and I focus mainly on mushroom content, just mushroom farming and agriculture and information, stuff of that nature. But I also have lots of shorts up of my little corgi Darcy that you should check out if you like corgis, and who doesn't, right? So what are we doing today? We are going to make this liquid culture. It's going to be my first time using this one, Dr. MYC. I'm assuming that is Dr. Mycelium. I got it off of Amazon for anyone that's interested. This is not sponsored. This is just something I happened to notice while browsing, and I decided why not make a video. So here we are. Looks like I have everything I need here. Here's a bottle of water, a funnel, this thing, 2 jars, the small weight scale, the liquid culture mix. This is what I'm going to use to get the mix out of the bag, like small doses of it. And I got this nifty little tool here to do that with. So this is a 000, which is the largest capsules I believe you can get. So it has, you put one section over here. One is way larger than the other. So then you can take the cap and put it right on this notch so you don't lose it. And if you know anything about me, that's a necessary piece of the tool. Otherwise, I would use 2, 3, maybe even 4 capsules in the process of making one. So let's open up the scale. Open up the bag. According to what I read, 5 grams of this is what you use for 16 ounces of water or 1 pint. These bottles are 16.9 ounces. So if I go a little bit over 5, it's not going to be a big deal, but I probably do not want to go over 5.5. I have no idea what this stuff is going to look like or smell like. This is my first time using this mix. Anytime I've made liquid culture at home, I just use corn syrup and honey. And it's always been rather successful, if I do say so. But I'm curious to see what kind of difference this makes. And it's just a white powder. Doesn't really have a smell. Like, it has one, but nothing pungent or placeable. So with this tiny little scale here, it's on grams. I'm gonna put this guy right here. This weighs 181 grams. Wow, cool. Tear. So now it's registering 0. So now anything I add will be reflected on the scale, but not the rabbit cup. This package has 50 grams in it, so I should be able to make a pretty good bid. of live culture media. 5.9, exactly where I wanted it. I wish it was 5.10 so I could say it's okay that it's a hair over. I'm sorry. Well, maybe not. There we go. I chose this one, like the color, because it reminds me of Fallout. But they had a bunch of different colors. I messed up by having the bottom of the funnel actually touch the water, so it did kind of create a sludge at the bottom. I have a solution, a pencil. Man, I should really think things through better, shouldn't I? Rag. Oh, I did it again! I did it again! Oh. We're doing a reverse funnel system. Ah. Maybe one day I'll get a handle on this whole life thing, but that day is not today. I am going to just do a dash more because I did lose probably about 1 gram in that kerfuffle. See if I can be careful enough to do this. I think that should be good to make up for the loss. If you're not real careful with the lids on these great value bottles, they'll pop off as soon as you start trying to shake up whatever you got in there. So I've learned how to be gentle with them and precise. I'm going to let that settle for a little bit. Dissolve, I mean. And the next step, I'm going to transfer this into this, and then I am going to put it in the pressure cooker. But more on that later. A piece of equipment I should have mentioned earlier are the silicone jar lids. They're not absolutely necessary because you can use tin foil, but I got these from North Spore, so I'm gonna use them. Whenever I make liquid culture media using honey and corn syrup that I have to boil in a pot to get it to dissolve, I will run it through cheesecloth before I put it in the jar that I'm going to use as the container for the media. But I don't think I'm going to need to do that with this Dr. MYC. Honestly, that's a little bit too much. I'm gonna go ahead and do it, but I would advise you at home to maybe only go about here. That's about how far up you want the water to go, or media to go. I like using these smaller mason jars for the media. They're a little bit easier to manage than quart jars, but you can use a quart jar just fine. This one has the right amount of media in it. And I still have a pretty good bit left in that bottle. So I'll probably use a quart jar to hold it because these are the only two tiny jars I have. I've got both of the jars inside of the pressure cooker elevated on top of a trivet. Now we need to set it for 15 psi for 20 minutes. The package said you can go to 30, but I see no reason to. So let's get the pressure cooker started. Got rice, pasta, soup, broth, meat stew, as if there's any other kind of stew, right guys? Chicken. What the heck, guys? I'm not seeing the liquid culture media setting. This is BS. I gotta do everything myself. Okay. So what you do whenever your pressure cooker does not have a liquid culture media setting like mine, what you want to do is hit manual. Then I'm going to turn it down to 20 minutes. And I'm going to hit start. On these electric pressure cookers, you know that it's hit 15 psi. I don't know how well this is going to pick up on the camera, but there's steam coming out of the exhaust valve right now, and it starts pretty slow and not very vigorous, but once it reaches the level it's at right now, let it go for 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, turn the release valve, the exhaust, over to airtight, and then the pressure cooker, that's when the timer will start. Once 10 minutes has passed, make sure you put on some protective equipment and then just flip the valve over to airtight. It's so easy on these electric pressure cookers. And this should switch over to the timer in just a second or minute, or something that I totally ripped off from Gen Z is I noticed that they do like the idol dances, not like idols from South Korea, but idol animations in video games where if you leave your character standing there for a while, they just start kind of doing a little jig. And I noticed Gen Z people doing it at work. I was like, you know what? I like that. I'm taking that. So now whenever I'm just waiting around for something, I'll do a little jig. Why not, right? keep the body moving. It's more than a second. Got Darcy here. What are you doing, girl? What are you doing? She's hanging out. I just gave her dinner, so she's probably full and tired. I'm gonna eat after this. But I didn't want to start dinner with the pressure cooker still getting to pressure. Well, that'll turn over eventually. I hope. It hasn't even been 10 seconds since I stopped recording. It did the thing. The pressure cooker has been done for a couple of hours. You want to let it cool off naturally, I guess you would call it, and you don't want to release the pressure manually. So I'm going to release the valve and open up the pot and see what's happening in there. Looks like all the pressure already was let out. Make sure you have your protection, thermal protection. That looks good. It doesn't look like it caramelized. I don't know the ingredients for that culture mix, but I have a problem whenever I'm using honey or corn syrup that I'll caramelize the sugar inside of the culture jar because I'm just cooking it for either too long or at too high of a temperature. I believe the issue in my case is I was doing it for way too long. I didn't realize that the liquid culture media didn't have to spend as much time in the pressure cooker as grain jars and grain bags. But after reading that, it makes sense because liquid, and especially water, conducts heat probably better than any other material on Earth, I would have to imagine, but I could be so wrong about that. But the reason you want to wait 2.5 hours whenever you're using grain jars or grain bags is because you want to give the heat enough time to penetrate the bag or jar and get to the center of it. And the heat isn't going to transfer as easily through grains as it will water. So 20 minutes to kill everything in that jar, it makes total sense. But thank you for joining me. I think I might have a little bit more, so you'll find out.